All right, are we rolling? Oh, need my mic. All right, everyone, just jumping on early like I like to do. It allows people some time to find the feed when Facebook sends out the notification. Once I go live, Facebook sends out notifications letting the followers of the page or the people that are interested in the event know that I'm live. If somebody, whoever jumps on first, can give me an audio check, let me know that you can hear me okay. That would be fantastic. While I'm pouring out some of my paint colors. Again, please give me an audio check, a little sound check. Let me know that you can hear me. We got about 7 minutes before we get started officially on our little session here. What's up, Tabitha? How are you? Thank you. Awesome. Veronica Espinoza. All right. So I'm just sitting here pouring out some of my paint colors that I'm going to be using. We'll go over those in a little bit. But again, I'm just also providing a little time for everyone to find the session. What's up, Natalia? Shirley, what's up? Cool. It sounds and looks like we are rolling and everything's going okay, which is what we want. Let me take a look at my colors here, make sure that I'm putting out the right colors to start with. How's it going, Tina? All right, so how's everybody doing today? Hope you're all enjoying your Wednesday. It's Wednesday here in California. It depends on where you're following me from. For some of you, might be the next day, right? I think, depending on the time zone. So anyway, hope you're all doing fantastic today and that you're all ready to do a little painting. We're going to have some fun. Yeah, there you go, Shirley. This is going to be a fun one. I haven't done a little prickly pear cactus on my page. Actually, we've done some cactus, 1 or 2 cactuses in the past. Cacti. What's up, Debbie Sanderson from the UK? Late as always, nearly 11 p.m. So we'll re-watch in the morning. Sounds good, Debbie. Get some sleep. Hope you have a good night's rest. And then you're ready to paint tomorrow. Nice and refreshed. Okay, I'm going to turn up the air in my studio. So give me a second. Turn up the air here. It's a little warm with all my studio lights. So give me 1 second while I step away from my desk for a moment. All right. Had to crank that up a bit. I'm getting a little warm in here. Turn on all my studio. Usually I turn my studio lights on, ahead of time. Make sure that it gets warm and I kick up my air conditioning and everything adjusts by the time we got the video going. But today I turned everything on a little bit later than usual. So got to give my air conditioning a little time to adjust to the lights. But anyway, let's see. Megan says, do you have videos on all the pictures hung up behind you? For the most part, yes. There might be 1 or 2 that are not available. Let's see. Yes. This one's coming up in a couple of weeks. Yes. Don't know if you can see all the way over there. So there's only 2 on here that currently I do not have videos for. The one in the very bottom corner over there, and I don't know that you can see it. I think you can just see a partial one, not the hummingbird, but the one next to it. And then this one, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. This is a little neon. This is a painting that glows under black light. So if you guys are interested in having some fun with this one, the event page is up. I can't remember the date. I think it's maybe it's July 7th. Okay, so that's coming up. But everything else, we got a video for. If you go over to the live tab on the main painting with Jesse page, you will find all of those there. I can show you guys how to find them too. While we're waiting for people to jump on with me, we got about 3 minutes. I can show you really quickly. I'll share my screen here and I'll show you where you can find those. So let's do a quick screen share here. Hold on 1 second. Let's see, share screen. We're going to go to Chrome tab. And then there we go. Hold on 1 second. So let's start from the main painting with Jesse page. Let's go to that. Hold on, let me make sure that my screen is showing up. It sure is. All right, very good. So here's the main, actually not there. Coming up. Let's go. So if you were to go over to the main painting with Jesse page on Facebook, at the very top, right in here, right? You see my main page over here. I got to change this, by the way. This is old, all this in here. But anyway, so you see my profile right here at the very top. You see these tabs. You got the home, you got live, you got videos, you got groups, and you've got more. If you want to find any of the upcoming events, you click on this more down arrow, and you're going to pull this box up. Right here under events is where you would go to find future events and also past events. I think you can click on previous events. But anyway, for future events, you would go here. But for any live sessions that you've missed or you're interested in joining, there are over 100 recorded sessions. You would click on this. Whoops, let's get rid of that. You would click on this live tab right here at the top, and it's going to take you over to the library of all the different videos we've done over the past. It's been 14, 15 months now, 16 months. But you just scroll down, and you're going to see a whole bunch of tutorials. Like I said, over 100 of them. So all those behind me, except for the two that I talked about, are in here somewhere. You just have to scroll back a little bit. Most of these are newer, so you'll find them closer to the top. Like, let's say, for example, the horse one. There's a little horse one over on that corner, on that side, right? That upper corner is this one right here. Okay. What else? What else? The umbrella right back here. A little umbrella tutorial with the roses. The hummingbird. Over here, the little Mother's Day tulips painting that we did. Here's the beach scene over here behind me. Okay, there's the sunflowers, the giraffe. Oh, that's not the giraffes. The giraffes are a little bit further back. Anyway, you get the picture. No pun intended. You get the picture. But yeah, you just scroll down on that tab is where you're going to find all those. Okay. But all right, let's get back to today's video. Let me stop sharing the screen. Stop sharing the screen. Awesome. So my name is Jesse. If you're new to my page, I am live streaming to both Facebook and to YouTube. So both this tutorial is being live streamed to both platforms. It is being recorded. Today's session is being recorded. If you're not able to paint right now, or if maybe you have to leave partway through, the video will be available immediately after the live session is over. You'll just have to go on Facebook. If you go over to that same live tab that I just showed you, that's where you'll find the video. Okay, so again, it is being recorded. That question will pop up. People that jump onto the feed while it's going will ask that question. So if you guys happen to see that, please answer that for me. If I don't get to the question, oftentimes I'm painting, somebody asks that question. But yes, the session is being recorded. Okay, so I want to welcome everyone to the page today. We don't have a really large group. Looks like we've got about 42 devices currently on the live feed, which is a pretty good little quaint group. Makes it a little easier to see all of your questions and comments. As I outline steps during the process, let's say I show you a step on my canvas, I'll show you how to do it. I give you guys a little time to implement that step. Then I go to the next step. Usually what I do is I'll give you a minute or two to do the step, and then I move on to the next one. Okay, so on and so forth throughout the entire session. We are going to be painting for approximately 2.5 hours, more or less. Don't stress if you're going, oh my gosh, that's a really long time. Paint for as long as you can. If you've got to leave, you can go ahead and do so, and then just come back and finish off with the recorded session. Okay, this is a no pressure environment. I want you guys to enjoy the process. But in between steps, I do look over at the comment section, answer questions, say hello, etc., etc. Please be sure to let me know where you're painting from, who you're painting with. That way I can give you guys a little shout out. Also, if you're celebrating a birthday or an anniversary or anything like that, please put it in the comments so we can celebrate with you. All right. So anyway, let's get moving. Let's talk about the supplies for today. So let's look at the painting itself. The colors that I'm going to be using, it's kind of obvious. They're what's on the painting, but in case it's not really obvious, I've got a green. Okay, I'm going to be using some green. I'm painting with acrylic paints. You can paint with whatever you've got, whether it's watercolors, colored pencils, chalk, pastels, watercolors, etc., etc. Okay, but anyway, I'm painting with acrylic paint. My first color is a green. Okay, I've got some yellow. Okay, this will be used primarily for the bees. I might mix this in with a little bit of orange to lighten up the color a bit, but we'll see. Of course, I've got a blue. Now I've only got one color of blue here. It's kind of a dark blue, but I'll be mixing it with some white to lighten it up a little bit. I'll be using a blue. Okay. Of course, white, as I've already mentioned, white is also in the bees and in the centers of one of my flowers. I also use it to do a little bit of highlighting. All right. So then I've got some purple. Okay. This purple I'll be using for the darker parts of the prickly pear cactus. You guys see kind of in the center of the cactus, center of the painting, and then over in the upper right, I use it for to change the color a little bit from green to blue. I can also use it for a little bit of shading if I want. Okay, I've got some orange. The orange is going to be for my flowers. I may change the colors on the flowers to something else. I'm not sure yet, but I do have orange for that. I've got red. Okay, and the red is for the little fruit, the fruit on top of the cactus. Okay, that's what that red is for. I can also use the red to add a little bit of shading to the orange flowers. And then I have some black. Okay, black. If I end up using black on the cactus itself, it'll mostly be to make a darker green for the shaded area on the bottom right-hand side. I don't know if you guys see it on the little piece that's hanging over to the side. There's a little bit of a shadow in there that I use a little bit of black. I mix it with green to make that darker hue. We'll see. I may use blue and green for that. We'll see how things go. And then, of course, the black is also in the bees, in the stripes in the bees. I'll be mixing a little bit of black and white and maybe a little bit of blue to create the color for the bees' wings. Okay. Now, I'm going to be drawing the piece first. I'm actually going to use some chalk to draw it with. You can use chalk. I've got a dark piece of purple chalk that I'll be using to draw the cactus. And then you can use pencil if you have pencil with an eraser. We'll talk about that in just a moment when we get moving. But again, I'll be drawing it first, then we'll be painting in a layer of paint on the cactus. A light blue layer is what I'm using as a background. I'll explain that a little bit more here in a moment. I do have a light blue layer of paint underneath all that green and blue that you see on the cactus itself. But again, I'll talk about that here in just a moment. But I will be using a piece of chalk to draw that with. As far as my surface here, I've got a 16 by 20 inch pre-primed cactus, pre-primed canvas. Okay, and by pre-primed, I mean that's how it comes when I purchased these already pre-primed. If you're not familiar with what a primed canvas is, all it is a canvas that's ready to be painted on. Most of the canvas that you buy in a place like Hobby Lobby or Michael's comes pre-primed. Some people like to add other layers of primer over the top of them, but don't worry about that. I don't do that, or it is really, really rare that I do that. But anyhow, I am going to be reproducing the painting on the 16 by 20 inch canvas. I've got a variety of brushes here. Now, these brushes are just a suggestion. You guys make do with whatever it is that you have. Okay, the first brush, my largest brush in my group, is a 1 inch flat brush. Okay, these are all synthetic bristle brushes, but that is a 1 inch flat brush. I will primarily be using this for the background. Okay, maybe for some of the inside of the cactus itself, but that is a 1 inch flat brush. Then I've got a 1/2 inch flat brush, basically the same shape as that big one. It's just about half the size. Detail work on the inside. This is most like what I'll be using in here, but I can use this for the flowers. Okay, that's what that's for. Then I have a number 8 filbert brush. This is similar to the flat brush. It's got a rounded head. You may not have this one, no big deal. Okay, this is just kind of a specialty brush that's good for, I like to use these to paint rounded edges. Okay, the little dark shade that you see on the edge there or over here will likely be done with this. Okay, I don't want you to worry if you don't have any of these brushes. Make do with what you've got. You're going to be okay. I've got a number 10 flat. Basically, it's just a really small version of those other 2 larger flat brushes that you saw. Again, detail work, things of that nature. I've got a number 5. Sorry, this is a number 4 flat. Same deal, small details. Okay, things like these little fruits on top of the cactus. little cactus fruit. And then I've got a couple of small, skinny round brushes. I've got a number 3 round, okay? And then I've got a 0 round. These are just for the details, detail work. Things like the antenna on this bee, the little legs, okay, that kind of stuff. The thorns that you see here will be done with these 2 brushes, okay? So those are the main supplies that I have. I also have paper towels. They come in handy, right? We use those to clean up brushes, but also they come in handy to clean up messes. I've got a rinse cup that I'll be putting my brushes into in between steps. They typically will sit here for a little bit. I use this. There's water in here. I use them to rinse out the paint from the brushes, okay? And I think that is it for my supplies. I'm not missing anything. I think I covered everything. Oh, I like to use plates as palettes. Okay, I've spread out some colors on here already. These are the colors that I'm going to be starting with when we get to the painting part of it. So I've already spread some of those out on there. But again, I'm going to be using some chalk to draw first. We're going to draw the cactus first. Now, let me go ahead and change the view on my screen here. There we go. You guys get a better view of what I'm doing. Now, I want to explain a couple of things before we get moving. Now, I have decided to possibly change the background color on the new painting that I'm going to do. I may do it in pink, kind of like the pink that you see. I can't point it on the screen itself. If you look at the screen, the upper right-hand corner, where that picture of that cactus is, that pink background, I may do something like that. I may do a darker blue, or I may do a lighter blue. We'll see when we get to that point. But we're going to draw all of this first. I'm also going to raise this up a little bit and maybe shorten it a bit. I want to see the bottom of this piece where it narrows in a bit. I want to bring that so I can see most of it. I feel like I chopped this off when I made this painting I think I made this about 2-3 years ago. I chopped this off a little too high up on the cactus itself. So I want to raise it a bit so you see more of the bottom of it. And then, so of course, that's not going to raise this up any higher. I'm going to kind of shorten everything a bit. So it's not, I don't want everything really high up. Okay, so again, you'll see what I'm talking about here in a moment. But on the original painting, what I did is I actually painted the entire background in first with a really light blue before I painted in my cactus. What that does is it gives me a nice light blue background to overlay with the greens and the darker blues and the purples that I eventually add on the cactus. I am going to do that regardless of whatever color background I use for my painting. I am going to put a light blue layer on the plant itself before I paint the greens and the other colors above it. Okay, so just wanted to get that out of the way in case some of you guys are going, well, you know, what if, anyway, just in case any of you had any questions. I don't want to get into it too much. I don't want to confuse anyone. So I talked about, we're going to be drawing first. Okay, so I got my piece of chalk. Okay, again, if you've got a pencil with an eraser, it's perfectly fine. If you're using a pencil, make sure that you're using really light pencil lines so it's easy to erase, okay? Chalk is nice to work with because it's really, really easy to remove chalk lines. So we're going to start. I'm going to turn this towards me just a little bit without dropping it if I can, okay? I'm going to turn it towards me so I get a better angle. I'm also going to scoot back a little bit. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to start with this centerpiece first. Okay, and that centerpiece, as I mentioned, I want to show the bottom a little bit more. So I'm going to raise it just a little bit. The top here is what I'm going to kind of mark off. It's a little bit higher than the middle of my canvas. The middle of the canvas goes across about right here. So if we find the middle of the canvas here, we're just going to go up a little bit. I'm going to draw the top part. Just kind of rough little edge of that piece there in the center. Now, I know that some of you may have a little bit of a hard time viewing what I'm doing. Let me, there we go. I think that's good. Just, I needed to get a better view on my screen. So again, this is the top part, that piece there. You want to be conscious with your space. If you're going to be including your bees and everything else, you don't want these so high up that you don't leave enough room or everything's so crowded, okay? But again, this here is the top of that cactus. Now, what I want to do is I want to mark off where I want that bottom here where it tapers in to be. So I'm going to do this. That's the edge. If I was to bring this up a little higher, those are the two little edges of that piece of the cactus. Okay, from there, I'm going to come up on the right-hand side, goes over like this, comes up, and connects right over there. Okay? Once we do that, this other side over here, I'm going to bring it up. Okay, I got to kind of be conscious of where it's going. It's going to come up a little bit like this. I do want it to taper in a little bit. You'll see the beauty of what you can do with chalk here in just a moment. But I'm going to come up. Okay, it's going to come up a little bit like this. Now I want this to taper in kind of like that one does. So I can just kind of take this in like this. Kind of something like that. So this is extra right there. I'm making an adjustment. I'm just going to take my paper towel, little bit of water on it. I dip it into my water cup, just a little bit. And I'm just going to go ahead and make my first correction there. Just going to clean that up a little bit. Again, chalk is easy to remove, and there, that's gone. Okay? And you don't have to make the corrections right away when you see them. When you see something you don't like, you don't have to correct it right away. You can just continue with the other stuff and then come back and make corrections later. Now this one here, we're going to continue with this one on this side. Now I'm going to bring this one up just a little bit. It's going to come up a little bit higher. So it's going to be about, maybe about right here. And again, that edge, this here is that top edge right in there. As I mentioned, I want to see the bottom of this a little bit more. So I'm going to do this. It's kind of where I see this tapering into the main part underneath. Okay. So this is going to come up, curls up. Okay, it does something like that. This side over here, we're going to bring it up. Whoops. Bring it up, turns up, kind of does this. Very loose sketch. I'm not too concerned with, following the exact pattern over there. That's not that big of a deal. Cacti, sorry. Prickly pears come in all kinds of different shapes and sizes. So whatever sizes you end up with on yours will be okay. Now, I don't like that these are almost identical in size, right? I want to bring this down just a little bit, just for my own taste. Okay. For the aesthetics, for the composition piece, I'm just going to bring this down a little. I'm going to make it a little smaller. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. There we go. I like that a little bit better. It's just a little more aesthetically pleasing to my eye. Okay. What's happening, Hannah? Hazel from Puerto Rico. What's happening, Hazel? Hello to Puerto Rico. Carol Roy. Yep, the contrasting pink would be nice. Yeah, so I'm going to seriously consider doing it in pink. We'll see. But all right, let's make a little correction right here. Just going to clean that up a little. All right, so next step. Let's go over here. The one on the right-hand side. Notice I'm leaving plenty of room around my edges, right? I'm conscious of the area around my canvas so that I leave enough room for everything else. Okay? Over here, how far do I want that one to go? I'm going to bring it out to about right here. Okay, maybe in here somewhere. So I'm just going to mark that off. That's that edge right over there. Okay, and then where do I want it to go? I do want it to kind of follow a similar pattern as that one. It's going to connect over here somewhere. This edge, that bottom edge is going to connect over here somewhere. Okay, so I just mark that off. Now, I'm going to bring that out. It's going to curve underneath, or by underneath, I mean towards the side, right? This is the bottom edge of that piece. Comes up, okay, kind of like that, and then scoops back or angles back in the other direction, connects right here. Okay. Now these two pieces can be completely attached. They don't have to actually touch this one. This one kind of falls behind this piece. The perspective is that this piece is in the forefront. This one's a little further back behind it. So that's where that shadow comes into play. This will make more sense later once we start to paint. But basically, this line right here kind of comes in and can go behind. So this line will come in and it can end up right there. Okay? So I'm just going to bring these down like this. Now I'm going to give you guys a close-up here in just a moment. I'm going to grab the canvas and bring it in closer to the screen. Ideally, you want to be watching this on a bigger screen. If you're trying to do this on your phone, the screen's likely going to be pretty small and you're going to struggle a little bit. So there's a close-up. Again, the beauty of doing this with chalk is that it's really easy to erase and to make corrections, okay? So that's why I like using chalk. It's just really, really easy. Okay, next one. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to put in this flower, okay, because this cactus is behind it, okay? So starting with this little piece right here where it connects to the main centerpiece, this guy right here, okay? All that is comes out like this, two little lines, the base, okay? And then we got a little bulb, kind of a little bulb, rounded head. And that's probably a little too big for what I want, so let me lessen it a little, just make it a little smaller, a little narrower and not as prominent. Now, whenever I erase, I don't have to remove every smudge mark. The paint's going to take care of that once I paint over everything, okay? Again, this little bold part right here is this, the base. Then, all I'm really interested is in the shape of the flower here. It looks like kind of like a fan, right? If you imagine one of those little handheld, like the Japanese fans, it kind of comes up a little like that. So right about right here, it's going to come up, curves up. All we're looking at is the shape right now, nothing with detail. Got a couple little bumps over the top here. Okay, and then I'm going to start over on this side, this edge right here. The other side of that flower comes up, kind of does that. Now, somebody sent me a picture, attached a picture earlier to, what's happening, Adriana? No stencil, Carrie. So this one does not have a, stencil. Great question, Nelda. Why draw the subject before you paint the background? So, a couple of reasons why you would draw the subject first. If you paint, so let's say, for example, that you paint your background first. And let's say that you're using pink or yellow or red, etc. When you paint that entire background, that's now the base color that you're going to have for your cactus. So if everything's red, let's just say you used red. Everything's red. When you paint over that red, the green or blues and everything are going to mix in with that red. They're going to even if it's all dry, that red underneath is going to impact the color over it. So if you painted a color that's really different, or a big contrast from the greens and the blues, you're going to be fighting against that color to get to the color that you want. Sometimes that takes several layers. So I am going to be adding a hue of blue to these before I paint the green over them, because I want that light blue hue coming through the paint. In this case, that light blue will add to the effect that I want. Okay, but any other color, again yellows, or let's say you did a purple background, etc., that might work, but you still would have to be fighting against that color on the canvas to create the colors that you want on your cactus. Hopefully that makes sense. I'll explain that again once we start to talk. So Adriana, that's probably your reception or your internet. Okay, if the reception isn't clear, that may be a problem with your internet. It's looking good on my monitor over here. I'm using my laptop to monitor the feed, and it looks good. That doesn't guarantee that it's looking good on your end, but and that's okay, Donna. You can paint your background first. If you paint it in your background first, don't worry about it. You're going to be fine, okay? But all right, let's continue. Yeah, so we'll talk about that again. There's different ways to approach any painting. You could do the background first. You just have to understand that when you paint in your background first, the color for your background, it may interfere a little bit with the colors that you paint on your subject, on the main part of your painting. Anything that you layer over it, you'll have to contend with that, okay? Which is no big deal, but just something to consider. All right, here we go. So we got our flower here. What are we going to do next? We're going to do the other piece behind it, the piece of the cactus behind it. So somewhere up over here, okay, you just have to kind of eyeball it a little bit. So I want this piece right here is going to start about right here. And I want it there strategically because it hides the rest of it behind the flower. This edge here, if I was to follow it down behind the flower, it's hidden behind that flower, okay? So again, folks, I just wanted to, on that question, I just want to make sure everybody understands there are different approaches to any painting. There's not always, some people like to do it a particular way, others do it a different way. I like to use both methods. Oftentimes I will paint the background first. Depends on what's going to be on the front. We did a Grinch painting for Christmas this past year, this past Christmas. The entire background was black. When I painted white and the green over the black and the red, there was a lot. We had to layer a lot. We had quite a bit of layering to do because we were competing against that really dark black background. And for the colors to stand out, it required a whole bunch of layering. So, and that's okay. I mean, that's not a problem if that's, as long as you understand that that's how that works. Okay. Whoops. I'm going to bring this up a little bit. Don't want that far down. I want it to be narrow here at the base where it connects. So there we go. Hopefully it answered your question. But again, folks, any questions that you guys have, please put them in the comments. No question is a bad question. Oftentimes other people have the same question you do, but they're a little shy to ask. Okay. All right, let's come over here. So again, we start with the base, and that's going to attach over here. Okay, just going to come up a little bit. Okay. Again, this part is that part right there. Okay, I'm just going to come over like this. Actually, I'm going to give you guys a little time to catch up right there. You guys might be a little bit behind, so give you guys a moment. Give you guys about a minute to catch up. Okay. Let's look at your questions here while I drink a little bit of water. Yes, so currently the video, our live session is being streamed both to Facebook and to YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube, or if you started a little bit late and you're going, oh my gosh, I missed the whole beginning of it. If you go over to YouTube, on YouTube, you can actually back up the live feed to the beginning. You can't do that on Facebook, okay? So on YouTube, you can back up the live feed all the way to the beginning and pause as you wish, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. All right. So again, folks, I just want to remind everyone there is no stencil for this painting. We're doing everything from scratch today. Diana says, hi from Connecticut. Love this painting. Oh no, flowers again. I did the pineapple with hibiscus. Do my best. That's it, Diana. Always, everybody, if you're new, do your best. Have fun with it. That's the primary goal for me, or the message that I like to give everyone, is that your main goal should be that you have fun. Enjoy the process. Everything else will fall into place. The more you paint, the better you'll get. There's just no way around it. But if you enjoy the process, you're just more likely to come back and do it again and do it again and do it again. And it's in the experimenting and in the doing and experience is what's going to get you better, right? Your brain will start to figure things out as you go. Everybody paints at a different pace, starts with different skills. But that's how I would recommend somebody approach painting. Teresa Marie, I do usually, most of my paintings do have a stencil. Something like this, I would say, give it your best shot, and you'll surprise yourself. Most people do, okay? But all right, let's continue. This little flower over here, I'm just going to draw the outline first. We're going to start with the outline. This right here, it's kind of almost like an ovalish, looks kind of like a dish or a bowl even. So we're going to start with the bottom. It goes like this on one side, and it comes over a little up to the left and then up. Okay, we're going to go around the top now. Don't stress too much about the shape and everything else. Now, I'm already seeing some differences between the two paintings. This flower here is about as big as that one. For my purposes, for my painting, I want it a little smaller, so I'm just going to erase it. Do the same exact shape, but just make it a little bit smaller. Okay. All right, there we go. Like that a little bit better. And why not, since we're here, let's just draw the little center. Okay. These little guys right here, I'm not worried about. we can add those in later. Okay, these guys right here. I'm not worried about those. Also, the bees. I'm not worried about the bees. What I am going to do really quickly is I'm going to drop this down a little bit. And all the time that I was talking, I got a little distracted, which is okay. I'm just going to bring this down a little bit lower. I wanted to leave a little more space, for that bee up on top, that little fruit up there also. So I'm just going to lower this just a touch. Okay. Kind of like that. Comes over. Now I can bring it down a little bit, just a touch. Okay. And then I got a little fruit right here that comes up. Again, don't worry. Let's not worry about the fruit. We're gonna paint the background in before we do any of that. But I want that space over here for that bee. Now the bees can be at different places, right? You don't have to have a bee over here. Your bee could be over here somewhere. That bee, can be way over in the corner somewhere. When we get to that point, we'll worry about that then. Our drawing part of it is done. So I'm going to take a little step back. I'm going to look at what I've got from a distance. You always want to take a step back. Gives you a better perspective. Okay, so we look at it. Right now would be the time to change anything if you want to make any corrections. Okay. Teresa, so the hummingbird is a lot more complicated. Okay. Teresa says, I tried to draw the hummingbird with you. Didn't go very well. And it's okay. Remember, it's about the practice part of it. Just because you didn't do well the first one time, you work at it. Like I said, your brain will slowly start to make more sense of drawing and stuff like that. But in either case, this is a much simpler piece to draw than the hummingbird. The hummingbird had lots of little proportional pieces to it, detail to it. So I would say give it a shot. Give it a shot. Hi, Kimberly. How's it going? From Tyler, Texas. We were going to reschedule to two sick children. It looks like 2 children, but they still begged me not to. Got you. Due to sick children. I understand. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully you guys are all having a good time. Sick or not. Hope you're enjoying it and hope the kiddos get better. But all right, here we go. So let's take a look at the painting, at the piece that we've got so far. Let's look at the original because I want to talk about this for a moment. I just want to emphasize it again. I am likely going to change the background color on my piece from the original. And I'm still thinking of going to be doing the pink background. It's just really attracting me to that set of contrasting colors. But here's what I want to talk about really quickly. I want to talk about how I did the original so you guys all have an idea as to why I'm going to do what I'm about to do on this next step. Everything underneath here has a light blue hue. So the layer underneath the plant itself has a light blue hue. That's what I started with. It's a real similar hue to what I have on the background. Okay. The reason why I did a light blue hue on that piece is because I wanted some of that blue to come through on the layers above it. If you guys have ever seen a prickly pear cactus in person, sometimes they're green, but they change in hue, right? They've got a little bit of a bluish coming through. So that's what I wanted to capture in my painting. Now, you don't have to do it that way. Yours can simply be, green. You don't need this blue layer that I'm about to add, but that's what I'm going to start with, a light blue layer in here. Okay. So I'm going to grab my 1/2-inch brush, and I apologize, folks. I forgot to set my phone on silent, not on silent, but on do not disturb. So it might ring or vibrate during this process. I normally set that to do not disturb, but I forgot to today. So I've got a little bit of blue on my plate here. I mentioned that I like to use paint plates or plates as my palette. I bring a little bit of blue over to one of my mixed plates. Then I'm going to grab I'm using my 1/2-inch brush here. I'm going to grab some white, a little bit of white. Okay, bring that over. Yes, same brush. I'm mixing my blues my blue and my white a little bit. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip my brush here in my water here for a moment. I'm going to create the light blue base that I'm going to be using for my cactus. Again, this is the color that I'm going to put on the cactus first. Then I'm going to paint in my background. Then I'll come back and start adding some of the hues that you see on the original painting. So I'm just mixing a light blue color. Doesn't need to be really heavy. As a matter of fact, it's going to be kind of a thin layer of paint. Okay, I'm dipping my brush in my water cup. Okay, I'm dipping my brush in my water cup. I want some water to blend into this paint. Okay, now what I'm going to do, and it doesn't matter if it's all one perfectly solid blue color, it can be slightly swirly, or there could be a slight variation within your paint. What I'm going to do is just really quickly throughout the all my cactus, I'm going to spread this layer of this blue. Again, this is optional, but this blue is going to come through a little bit on the other layers, and it's going to tint those layers a little bit. And I'm going through here pretty quickly. I'm not trying to put a perfectly even layer throughout this whole thing. I'm just kind of spreading this rather quickly. Okay. I'm going to come over to the other one over here, do the same thing. Now again, just want to emphasize that I'm working through here pretty quickly. This layer doesn't have to be perfectly even. It could be splotchy. It's not a thick layer. This piece has a lot of little detail, right? You've got the stickers, the thorns. You've got the little flowers. You've got the bees, of course. You've got all the colors in the bees and the wings. So some of you, I know at some point, are going to be like, okay, I've been painting a while. I need to stop before my eyeballs fall out. You might just get, a little tired of painting. Don't forget, don't worry about that. If you're falling behind or anything like that, don't stress. You're simply going to come back and finish with the recorded session. But stick around for as long as you can. I like the company, so stay with me for as long as you can. If you've got to get going, if you've got kiddos, that are painting along and they're like going, no, this is taking too long, you guys can come on back later today, tomorrow, the next day, and finish it off a different day. Okay? All right. Also, some of you might be joining me for the 4th of July. I've got a 4th of July painting. I'm going to bring this up a little bit higher. Even though I've got it already drawn out, I can use my paint to bring the cactus up a little bit. Now, right here, this cactus, I probably want to make it a little bit skinnier because I just realized it's really broad here at the base where it connects to this one. And I don't like the way that looks, so I'm just going to take my paper towel, and right here on this edge, I'm just going to clean it up a little bit. It's easy to it's easy to make corrections with paint, especially when it's wet. So just like that, okay? There we go. That looks a little bit better to me. But anyway, this Saturday, we're doing a really nice 4th of July painting. I've got the information up on the event page here on Painting with Jesse for those of you that are interested. I don't remember what time we're painting. I think I set it for 11 West Coast time, but might be 12 or 1. I can't remember now. All right. And then these little guys a little bit also. Not the flowers, of course. Awesomeville Marie. Hey, Anita, how's it going? Cool. Watching now, painting later. Fantastic. Again, folks, I see some of you guys interacting in the comment section, answering each other's questions. Fantastic. If you have been painting with me for a while, or if you've heard me say something and somebody asks the question, absolutely help somebody out, answer the question for them, okay? Sometimes they're waiting for me to answer them, and I'm over here painting away. So, okay. So I've got my light blue layer of paint on my cactus. It's time to do my background. Okay, I have decided I'm going to go ahead and do it in pink. Okay, I'm going to do it in pink. This really cool kind of almost fluorescent pink. And so we're going to start with that. You can do whatever color you want. You can do light blue. You can do yellow. You know, you can get creative with this. It's your choice. But yeah, so I'm going to do it in pink. Let me go ahead and prep my paint here really quick. I've got very little of this pink paint left. So I just want to, I'm going to scoop it right out of the jars instead of pouring it out onto my plate. I'm going to use the jars here to scoop it out from. So I'm going over to my 1-inch brush, okay? And I'm just going to scoop a bunch of this out. I'm going to bring it over. Actually, I'm going to bring it over to my, no, I'm just going to bring it straight over to a plate. One of the plates that I'll be using, okay? Let me clean this up a little bit. My brush, I added a little too much to my brush. Now it's all over my hands. Let me clean it up off of my hands. Hang on one second. So I've got this color already pre-prepped, right? I don't have to mix it with anything, which is kind of nice. When you mix a color to make it, you have to make sure that you mix enough to cover the entire area that you're going to be using it on. Otherwise, if you run out partway through, you're going to have to remix some more. And oftentimes trying to mix and trying to get an exact match to a mix can be a little tricky. So actually what I may do is add a little bit of white to it, but we'll see. We'll see here in just a moment. Okay, I'm just grabbing some of this, bringing it over. I've got water in my brush. I'm letting that water mix into the paint. So I'm dipping my brush into the water. I bring it over. Let that come into the paint. I am going to take a little bit of white and mix it. It's a little too dark of a pink, I think. I want to lighten it up a little bit. So I'm going to take a little bit of white and I'm just going to put it over to the side here. Don't need a lot. Okay, just going to grab a little bit of this, bring it over. There we go. Now, again, I don't really care that this is going to be a perfect blend. I want this to be a little splotchy. I want there to be a slight variation in the color in here in this blend. Okay, so I don't totally mix the two colors together. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here. Now I could use a small brush for this step. It's safer if I use a smaller brush. I'm going to outline everything first. This is the only sticking point. Whoops, I just dripped a little bit of pink paint down here. No big deal. The only sticking point, or the only oftentimes tricky thing when you're when you draw something in first and then you have to paint around it, is that then you have to give me a sec. I got to paint this in a little bit right there where I dripped. Then you've got to paint around the edges, which can be a little time consuming. Okay, but no big deal. Just going to go through here. And you got to be a little careful, right, that you don't accidentally paint on over your edge or into, in this case, the cactus. So for this step, you most definitely, if you're newer to painting, you want to use a smaller brush. Don't be stubborn like me, like I'm doing right now, and sticking with this big brush. It's just safer. I'm liking this pink. It's going to contrast really nicely with the green and the blues and the oranges and the flower and stuff. Now, this is not a super complex painting, but it does have lots of little steps, lots of little stuff involved. So while it's not super complex, it can be a little time consuming. And again, some of you may be doing this in steps. Okay, in a moment, I'm going to come back with a small brush and go in there into those little areas in between the two flowers. For now, though, with this big brush, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to create that background. Let's see here. I'm going to create the background with this crisscross pattern with my brush. So now sometimes, as many of you know, you're going to need more than one layer of paint on your background. I'm using this paint from the Fine Touch. This pink that I'm using right now is from the Fine Touch. And what's this pink? I think I can't see the name on it. There we go. They just call it pink. It's just pink. But this is a pretty intense paint. It's pretty deep, meaning there's lots of pigment in it. It's a deep pink, pretty strong. So it covers quite a bit. Sometimes, depending on the look that you're going for, you may not need a second layer. But for those of you that depends on which color you're using, depends on the type of paint that you're using, you may need a second color. And typically, you'll know pretty quickly whether your paint is covering your canvas the way you want. If it's really if it's looking uneven or really blotchy or transparent, then you're likely going to be doing a second layer. But we'll see right now. Once we're done with this entire background, I'll look at it again, especially once it's dried, and I'll decide whether I'm going to do a second layer or not. Here on the edges, when I get close to the outline that I made on the cactus, what I like to do is I'll come right up to the edge. Whoops, got a little dried piece of paint there. And I'll pull it away from the edge. So here, right there, I'll just pull it away. Okay, like that. All the way around, pulling it away, pulling it away. And then I just come in and continue with the crosshatch pattern right over it. I like this look, this crosshatch pattern look on certain backgrounds, like something like this painting. It's what I did on the original. Kind of a little crisscross, going in different directions. If I want a really smooth looking background, then I would paint with really long horizontal or vertical brush strokes. Now, when you've got your drawing in front of it, that's going to be a little tricky. It can be done, it just takes a while. Or you paint the background in first and then draw over that background. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm liking this color. As a matter of fact, I like that blue and that pink together. That's pretty cool. Okay, now let me go ahead and grab my big brush here. I'm going to stick it into my water cup for the moment. I'm going to take my number 10 flat brush, that smaller flat brush. I'm going to grab some of my pink, and I'm going to come in here and get these little areas in between the flowers, the little nooks and crannies. Not muted, am I? No, I'm not. Okay, good. Now I just want to come in here and get in really tight to everything. All right, I'm going to take a little step back. I'm going to call you the glitter guy, says Diana Connolly. Too funny, the glitter guy. Oh, I forgot to talk about the glitter. There is glitter we're going to be using on this piece. The original has glitter. Let me give you guys a close-up. Hold on here. Let me see if I can do this without knocking things over. For those of you that have been following me a while, you know I like to knock stuff over. Sometimes, but the original does have some glitter on it. Okay, I got a little bit of I've got some gold in here. I got some crystal or pearl on the bee. And then I think I threw in some greens and some greens and maybe some silver on the cactus. I did this painting about 3 years ago. Did it for an in-person event where I taught a group of people to paint it. But anyhow, we'll add some glitter at the end. It's glitter paint. So take about a minute to get all caught up. And we're going to get going to the next step here in just a little bit. Hey, Kinkini. Yep, I got Bessie. Bessie's awesome. Your Bessie was awesome. So we did a Bessie the cow painting last year. I can't remember the month, but it's still available under that library that I showed earlier. That was a lot of fun. For those of you that are interested, you can go check that out. All right, here we go, guys. So that background, for now, we're going to leave it as is. We'll see later. I'll look at it again and see if I need to do a second layer of pink over it. It is looking a little bit blotchy. What I am going to do, actually, before I move on, I'm going to go ahead and paint my edges. I like to paint my edges on my canvases, so it's going to take a quick moment. I'm going to paint. So what I mean by the edges, the sides of the canvas, and for those of you that are painting on a canvas, the top, the right and the left. I won't do the bottom right now because I'm painting on an easel. We don't want to make the painting. If I paint the bottom of it, the painting will stick to the easel, and we don't want that. So I'm just going to come around the top. And then now I can't see what's happening on that edge. It's okay. I'm going to trust that I'm getting all of it. It's going to work my way down. And if there's any of it missing, I can always add it later. So my sides. Okay. And then I can't forget my left side. We're going to pick things up a little bit. Otherwise, we're going to be here a long time. Just going to kick it up to the next gear here. You guys get an idea as to what's happening here. So again, if you happen to fall behind a little bit, don't stress. You'll just come back and paint along with the recorded session. Big brush into my water cup for now. It's going to sit there for a bit. I'm going to go and grab, I'm going to go back to my number 10 brush. Actually, this is my 1/2-inch flat brush. Okay, I'm going to go over to this. I'm going to take a little bit of orange. And I got this really bright fluorescent orange. And I'm just going to scoop it right out of the jar because I don't have a lot left. Okay? Okay, straight orange. And I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to do this. I'm going to create the base color for my flower. Nothing real special or fancy here. I'm just kind of brushing in the general direction of the petals. Starting to create a little bit of shape. There are going to be other layers of variations of this orange on the flower, but we start with the same color layer all the way throughout. Same thing here, just kind of painting in the direction that the petals go in. The prickly pear cactus. Not sure all the places where this cactus grows, but I know it's all over the Southwest. Here in California, all over Mexico. Who knows? Maybe I'm sure probably parts of Central America, but other parts of the U.S. maybe. Of course, I said the Southwest, so Arizona, maybe parts of New Mexico and Texas. But all right. Now, yeah, of course, whatever orange you've got. Maybe your flowers aren't even going to be orange. Maybe some of you are going to have yellow flowers or pink flowers. So yeah, just a base of that color that you're going to be using on your flower. Put it down in your, oh, cool, Kinkini. Okay, Australia too, huh? Okay, fantastic. I know it's a pretty durable plant, so it can even be called a plant. Is it, what is it? Succulent. It's a succulent plant. Okay, so we're going to start layering. We're going to start layering in here on the cactus. So I've got this really deep green on my plate. Don't need a lot of this, okay? I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to find a little spot over here on my mixed plate. I'm going to bring that over. Now I'm going to take some white, and I'm going to mix the two together. Whoops, got a little bit of, saw a little bit of pink going there. That's okay. Wasn't enough to make a difference. So don't want it to be that. That's a really bright yellow. I could also even, if I wanted to, I could also add a little bit of yellow in here. Okay, but just going to make a deep kind of a deep almost, I don't know, what green would you call this? Almost like the color of grass almost. Okay, now this is not the exact color that I used on the original painting. Okay, that's okay. But watch what I do here. I'm going to take my brush, I dip it into my water cup, then I'm going to bring a little bit of that water over. Okay, and just this little area over here, I want to thin my paint out a bit. Okay, I don't have a lot of paint on my brush. So what I'm going to do is right in here. Now what's happening is that blue in the background, it's already dry, is mixing in or is blending in a bit with the green on top. The green of the layer that I'm putting down now. And for this painting, I'm going to go and paint, use my brush strokes that go in different directions. Kind of like that look. I did that on the original. Now you don't have to do that. You could follow all one direction if you'd like. Well, I'm liking this green against that pink background. Okay, just like that. Now I'm going to come over with this green, and I'm going to do the same thing up here. Now you notice this whole, there's some blue in here. Okay, so I'm only going to put in the green part of this cactus. I'm sorry, the green, yeah, did I say the green part of this cactus? That's what I meant. If I said something different, putting the green part. So it comes down something like that. Because I'm using a really thin layer of this green, it allows some of that blue underneath to peek out a little bit more. To peek through. Okay, maybe down here. Okay, comes around along the side. All right. I'm going to leave all this light blue because it's going to have that layer of blue in here, and then a little bit of purple we'll be adding in a bit. Okay, now I'm going to move up here. Maybe just up in this area. This part of the cactus is going to be primarily blue. Now again, folks, don't worry about too much about what I'm doing. If you want yours to be completely green, then do all of it in green. It'll be easier to do it that way. You don't have to worry about putting in all these different colors. Okay, but it's up to you. Now this has some darker shaded green in there. We'll add that later. So over here, there's that shadow in there. Okay, you guys all see that shadow? So we're going to go ahead and, so what that shadow is this cactus, this part is casting a shadow on that one. So I'm just going to take this and go like this. And my pink is looking pretty blotchy, so I will be doing a second layer of that pink. I like it kind of blotchy, but not that much. All right. Look at that. Where else? I think we're good for now. And if I wanted to, I could really remove most of this green just using my paper towel to do that. Just to have a little tiny bit left in here, and I can just come in here and kind of randomly move the edges around. There's very little paint here. This edge here, this shadow edge, needs to be pretty pronounced, pretty defined. Okay, so that's why that's nice and straight, whereas all this in here is not so much. But all right, take a moment on that. I didn't make the green runny. What I did is I made it nice and thin. Okay, I thinned it out with some water. All right. Yeah, southeast. Some people have it, huge ones in their yard. I remember growing up here in California, my grandmother had this humongous one on the side. She always had a garden. My grandmother and my grandfather always had a garden. And there was always this giant cactus, and so we grew up eating these too. My grandmother used to cook with these. And so, pretty cool. Sometimes run into them too as a kid, right? Get the stickers all over you. That wasn't fun. But all right. Yes, I thinned down the green, Kinkini. Yep, absolutely. But okay, so now I've got my green on my plate. Okay, I got the green that I created earlier, right? For this, the green. I'm going to grab a little bit of this. Just going to bring it over to the side. Okay, now I'm going to take some blue, some of this deep blue. I'm going to grab a little bit of it. Don't need a lot. Same brush. I'm not switching brushes here. I'm going to mix the two together now. Okay, watch what happens here. Okay, and I'm going to take a little bit of, so I've got some blue, some green in there. I'm going to grab a little bit of white, not a lot, don't need much. Just going to change the value of this color a bit, raise it up, a little more blue. And you'll start to, once you start to apply it to your painting, you'll see what you'll make adjustments as you see fit. But I'm thinning it out again. I don't want a lot of paint on the brush, right? Removing a lot of the paint. Now I'm going to come in here and in here. Okay, now my paint needs a little bit of water, so I'm going to dip my brush in my water cup, bring that over to the mixture, and then here we go. The water makes it a little bit easier to work with, makes it a little bit flowier. Okay. Now right here where the two edges meet, I'm going to overlap a little bit, so the colors blend. Water is your friend. If you're struggling at all to get that paint to flow and to spread onto your canvas, make sure you use a little bit of water. Add a bit of water to your paint and you're good to go. Over in this area here, we'll add a little bit of purple later. Change up the hue a bit. Okay, next one. Where else do we want to go with this blue? Right up in here. I'm going to change the blue up just a bit by adding more of this blue to the mixture. Maybe bringing it over to the side a bit. You take some white. Just making it more blue, less green. Because why not? Feel free to get creative, folks. Remember, you don't have to do the exact same thing that I'm doing. Make the piece your own. If you want to change up your colors a bit, it is your painting. If you want to stick, like I mentioned earlier, it's simpler if you stick to just doing everything in shades of green, but you don't have to. Again, notice my brush strokes. Notice I'm holding the brush, okay? Different directions here. This is kind of a loose painting. I'm not trying to create a super realistic cactus. I'm playing a little bit with the colors. You can see the brush strokes in the original, and you can see the brush strokes in what I'm creating now. Try not to overthink things. Just pay attention to what I'm doing. And then if you can mimic what I'm doing as far as brush strokes, as far as the paint colors and things like that, you're going to get something close to what I've got. Okay. Then this one over here, I'm just going to grab a little bit of blue and a little bit of green. And I'm just going to come in and randomly add some of this to this part. Make it a little bit less green. So what I did is I just mixed the blue, more of the green in here, blue and some green to create just a slightly tinted blue in there, or slightly tinted tint of blue and green that's almost like a teal color. Just going through here, and again, different directions on the brush strokes. Once we add the little thorns here, your eyes are going to start to see this more of as a cactus. Also, when we do some of the outlining, there's a little bit of outline here in black, a little bit of a darker outline in the green. All of those will start to shape it into a cactus. Right now, it may not be looking like much, but it will. Okay. All right. More of this blue-green mixture. Okay, I'm just going to come over here. Okay. Now I'm going to take some of this blue-green also, and I'm just going to bring a little bit over here. Just randomly adding it to spots so that it's not quite as blue. This part of the painting is really standing out against the rest of it because there's so much blue in there. Just toning that down just a little bit. All right. I'm going to give you guys a moment here to catch up. Give you guys about a minute. We've been painting for an hour now, or almost an hour. Ask your questions. I'm looking at the comments section here. Painting is about layering. Okay. Also depends on how complex a piece you're making. But layers, you layer from big, you do the big parts first, and you slowly start to refine and define and make things more detailed as we go. But it requires layers to do that. All right, Tina, thank you for stopping by and saying hello. That's right, Kinkini, nice and loose. Nice and loose with your brush strokes, okay? All right, so what I would like to do here is I'm going to go ahead and add the shade here, the shading of that dark, excuse me, the dark green, okay? There you go, Donna, that's right. Time flies when you're having fun. So all this right in here, again, this area in here, there's a shadow being cast onto this by this cactus here. So all I'm going to do now, some people don't like to use black to darken up, to create a darker value in a painting. It's just, you know, and I oftentimes, depending on the painting, I sometimes will use I'll use other choices. select a different color to darken up a color. Okay, but in this case, I'm just going to take a little bit of this black. I've already got a pretty dark green. Okay, I'm going to take that and bring this black over here. Okay, a little bit goes a long way. I'm going to grab some green here. Okay, and they're right next to each other, right? So again, I want a nice dark green. I'm also going to take a little bit of the deep blue, this right here, and throw it in. So green, black, and dark blue. So we're actually creating like a really deep shade of a blue green. Okay, it looks like almost like the bottom of what you'd see under a lake or a river or an ocean. So I'm just going to take this color. Okay, come around like this. Now this is going to take a second layer later to make this darker. But for now, that works. Blotchy or splotchy. But that's the first layer. Now I'm just going to clean up my brush here, my rinse cup. Let's see, what are your paint bottles, Jesse? So this color here for this black, the black is just a black from the Fine Touch. Okay, really nice glossy, well not super glossy, but somewhat glossy. And then the green that I'm using today is Emerald Green from Artist Loft. It's a really flowy paint. Okay, and then the blue is also from Artist Loft. Okay, I get the Artist Loft paint at Michael's, and I get the Fine Touch from Hobby Lobby. Okay, so what is next? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a little bit of this. I'm going to switch brushes now. I'm going to take my little 1/2-inch brush that I've been using. I'm going to bring it over and put it. Those of you that have been following me for a while know that I like to use something like a tin with some water in it, and I lay the brushes in that I'm not using. Still water in there. They're laying sideways like this. It takes pressure off of the bristles. If you're putting them face down in water in your water cup, you'll put some pressure on the bristles, and that can cause some damage. Okay, I'm just going to switch over to the smaller number 8 flat brush. Okay, little guy right here. I'm going to use this. I'm going to take some of this darker green. Okay, and okay, actually we already had some over here on this plate. I'm just going to grab a little bit of the darker green, mix the two together. Subtle, nothing too crazy, too deep. Then I'm going to use a little bit of this paint, and I'm going to come in here and add a little shading in here. Okay, kind of like that. I'm also going to come over here and do the same thing over here. Okay, like that. Okay. While I'm here, same color, right around the edge, I'm going to come around and add this dark shade on this side. So that's my outline. That's the edge, actually creates the edge of my cactus. And I'll go to about right there. Okay. Again, I'm using my little number 10 flat. Now over here, Instead of using one of my round brushes, by using these little flat brushes, straight edges, right? They have a nice little straight edge. It makes it easy to do some outlining. Outlining will make your painting stand out from the background. The pieces that you want to stand out, you want to pull them away from the background, you want to separate them, you can outline a little bit. You don't have to outline everything. A little bit of outline goes a long way. So I'm just going through here and outlining a little bit in this dark green. Now right here, for example, I don't have to outline this whole piece. I can just take and outline part of it. Okay, something like that. Later on, I will come back in with a little bit of black and do some outlining around some of these other parts. Okay. So like on these edges, just a little bit, some select areas. When I do the thorns, when I do the little thorns, that black gray that I use for that, I'll also do a little bit of outline here and outlining on the other edge here and there. It helps me to refine the edges a little bit. But again, they're subtle outlines. You don't have to outline every single piece of it to make this work. So let's bring some of this up over here. Okay, we're going to come down. To about right there. That's good for now. Maybe I'll come over to this side and do a little bit there too. I'm going to come over to this side now, over here. Just put a couple little lines on that edge there, just a little bit, maybe over here a little bit. Okay. Take a little step back. Let's look at our piece from a distance. Make sure that we're not missing anything. Okay, always take a little step back. Look at your painting from a distance. Gives you better perspective. Sometimes by being up close, you develop a little bit of a tunnel vision. So you step back and gives you a different look. Okay. All right. So you guys have about a minute to catch up on all that outlining. Okay, let me give you guys a little close up. Now I've got a mess on my little painting table over here, so let me move some of the stuff out of the way. Okay, so let me give you all a little close up. This is what we got so far. Okay. In just a moment, I'm gonna go ahead and do a second layer of pink on that background to reduce some of that blotchiness. Okay. But all right, we're going to be leaving the bees for the very end. Okay, those are going to be left for last. Other than the glitter, we're going to leave those for last. Some of you, I'm pretty sure, are not going to include bees in yours. Some of you are going to make the choice of not putting bees in there, and we'll leave those for last. Okay. But what I am going to do, that pink that I did earlier, the pink background, we're going to go to that. Back to my big brush. Okay, I still have a lot of that pink on my plate over here, so I'm just going to scoop up a lot of it and bring it over. And what did I do? I mixed some white with it, right? Still have some of that white here on the plate, but I need some more, so let me grab some more off of my palette over here. Now, this new mixture, since I am mixing some white into it, does not have to match the original color exactly. I just have to worry about that I've got enough paint here to do one complete layer over everything. Okay, so whether it's a slightly different value of pink, then the original doesn't really stress me out. Actually, I'm okay with it. I just need enough to cover everything in one shot. In other words, I don't want to have to stop partway through and mix some more of this pink paint, of this mixture. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to dip my brush in my water cup a little bit, bring some of that water over, just a few drops. I'll do that a couple times. The water just helps the paint flow. It's not absolutely necessary, but depending on the type of paint that you've got, the type of acrylic paint you're using, it will help. So again, I like to outline first. Careful, okay, right, be careful. Especially that now that we've done quite a bit of painting on the cactus itself, we don't want to accidentally bring some of this paint into the cactus. So be careful when you're working around your edges. Now, some people might say, Jesse, why did you outline the cactus? Why did you do that outlining? Okay, it would have been better if you do the second layer on the background first and then do the outline when that second layer is dry. Yes, I agree that would be the safer way to do it. But it's okay if there's no one set way. I've got a little bit of pink that dropped on here. I'm just going to take a little bit of water on my paper towel. Well, let me find a clean area of the towel. Okay, and I'm just going to scoop that up. Might have to do that a couple times. But anyway, yes, that's the easier way to do it, but it does not have to be done that way. Okay. Different approaches, similar results. You want to experiment a little bit. One of the most effective tools to finding your own kind of technique, your own method, your own brushstroke is by experimenting. What works best for me or what I like to do best may not be what you want to do. Okay, maybe the thing that I like to do second best or third best is what you like to do most of the time. Right? So, but you want to experiment. Try different techniques. Sometimes you'll find in experimenting that you stumble across a really cool way of making particular effects, or how to draw something in a way that that you hadn't thought of. I would say you want to try not to be too rigid in your painting approach. Too rigid can be a little stressful for some of us. So again, this second layer of paint is really working to help remove the blotchiness of the first layer. Liking it a lot better. Those of you that are have been hearing about my private Painting with Jesse group that's coming up, that's going to be starting next month. I will be posting a video update tomorrow with details, so be on the lookout for that. Okay. At some point tomorrow, I don't think I'll be going live tomorrow about it. I'll be posting a video, and then things like the dates and everything, the important dates to know. And I'll be emailing those of you that are on the email list for that. Okay. A lot of fun to be had there. A lot of cool things that we're going to be doing there. More access to me, technique videos, short drawing videos, short painting videos, long painting videos. A lot of things for different levels, and all depends on what depending on your goals and stuff. A lot of different options in there. But look for details tomorrow. All right, so taking my brush here, going in between these areas down in here, making sure that I'm coming up nice and tight on these edges. In just a moment, I'm going to take a step back, look at my painting from a distance. All right. Now, I don't have to do a second layer over my edges, right? Remember I painted the edges earlier? I don't have to mess with that. Bill Marie Lugo, how's it going? You didn't miss anything. Again, if you guys are jumping on here right now and you want to start from the beginning, simply go over to YouTube, find the feed there, and start it right back up from the beginning. All right, there we go. I'm liking this pink. This is a cool pink color. Second layer of that pink looks really nice against the background. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and start. We're going to start adding a little bit of detail to the flowers first. Okay, we're going to add some shades of orange, defining the petals a little bit. So what I'm going to do is switching over to my orange, and I'm going to be using my small brushes for this. I'm going to be using my two little flat brushes, and then I'm also going to be using the number 3 round brush to add a little bit of detail in there. Okay, so here's the two brushes, two small flats that I'll be using. Okay, and then I'm also going to be using the number 3 round brush for those flowers. Okay, these orange flowers, and then we'll also go, and once we're done with adding detail in here, the background will be dry, and we can add the little fruit on top. Okay, but the way that I'm going to work with this orange, I'm going to scoop this up, remember, right out of the bottle. Don't need a lot of this. This is pretty intense orange. Whatever color your flower is, your base part of the flower is. So if you're doing yellow or red or whatever, you're going to bring some of that color over to a spot on your plate. Okay? Then you're going to take, in my case, I'm going to take a little bit of yellow to lighten up parts of this orange. So I'm going to put my orange on my mix plate here, okay? My yellow on my mix plate. Because I'm also going to be using some for the bees, I might as well just put it on my main plate. Did I say my mix plate? My palette, my main palette. I'm going to grab some of this yellow now. I'm going to bring it over. I've got some yellow, I've got some orange, okay? And then I'm going to take a little bit of red. Okay, I'm also going to bring some of this over to my main palette plate. Don't need a lot. Just going to put a little bit on here and try not to get too much out of it. Oops, too much. Okay, again, back to this is my main palette. Okay, I'm going to scoop up a little bit of this. A little bit of red goes a long way. So I got 3 colors. I got red, I got orange, and I got yellow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some of this orange, mix it with the red. Okay, so I've got some red right in here and orange mixed together. Makes a really dark orange color. What I'm going to do with this red, I'm going to come up in here. Just going to dab it around the top of the opening of this flower. Okay, I'm going to come around the edge. I'm just using the edge of my brush to kind of dab around up in here. Okay. Now I'm also going to take some of this and I'm going to do the same down here. Again, watch how I'm holding the brush. Nice and loose. There's nothing too specific about this. Just back here towards the back of the handle. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, I'm not sure if you can see here, but in this flower, you can see some of the little edges of those petals coming up. So for example, I'm going to take my brush and just draw a little line up the top like that. Right here's another petal. So I'm making the edges of my petals. Okay. And then maybe there's a big kind of a petal right here. This is the side. So making little lines here. Okay. I'm going to take the same color, this deep orange, and I'm going to come over to the other flower. Start with the base. Now you notice the original flowers don't have a whole lot of detail on them. They don't need a lot of detail to look like flowers. I'm going to take this red and just going to come up the side like this. Now obviously this flower you're looking at it from the side, whereas this one you're looking at it a little bit more from the top, slightly at an angle so you're able to see over the top of those petals. On this flower over here, we don't really have to worry about that too much. So I'm just dabbing here, dabbing. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to take a little bit of yellow, bring it up over here, mix some yellow and some orange together, just making a really light hue of this orange. So I've got the original orange, I've got red mixed with orange, and then I've got some yellow mixing with the orange. Now I can come in here and just introduce a new shade into the flower, giving it just a little bit more depth. Flowers can be tricky, I know. Do your best. I'll move over to the other flower. Remember, you can always go back and watch this again so you can practice, so you can slow it down, pause it. I know I'm moving a little bit quickly here. Don't stress about that. Do your best. A lot of people like to watch some of the steps and then they'll come back and do it with the recorded session where they have full control of the video. They can pause it, they can stop it. I'm sorry, they can pause it, they can back it up. They get tired, they can leave. All right. For now, that works. Just cleaning up my brush a little bit. I'm going to take, before I do anything else, before I completely clean my brush, I'm going to take a little bit of this orange and just right in here, watered it down a little bit. Watered it down too much. I'm going to switch over to my smaller flat brush now. Okay. I'm going to just grab some white. Right in here. Now this whole thing can be white if you want it to be. Okay. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my white here. Don't need a lot on the brush, just a little tiny bit. And maybe in here you got a little highlight. Maybe in here's another one. Okay. Maybe just a little bit of a highlight up on top of there. There's not much paint on my brush right now. I'm using a little tiny bit and spreading it around. Okay. Now, I'm not going to do anything with the number 3 brush for now, after all. Later on, once this dries a bit, I'll come and maybe add a few little details in here, bring out some little lines and things like that. But for now, I think that looks pretty good. All right. Yeah, we definitely don't want to make any messes at this late stage in the painting. They're a little harder to fix. It'll still be done. But all right, take a moment on that. You got about 1 minute before we move on to that next step. Let's see if I missed any questions from anybody. What's happening, Ville Marie? Oh, it's Abigail. My mom's Facebook name. Okay, Abigail. Cool. Thank you, Bon. Appreciate it. Yes, Donna. That's absolutely a really good little trick. So Donna said, Jesse, I take a pic of mine as I go along. Corrections pop out more in pics. So absolutely. Oftentimes, because the picture, when you take a picture on your phone, when you look at it, it's condensed. It gives you a different perspective. Or, it just condenses everything to a really small image. So often you're able to see things on that smaller image that you can't see when it's right in front of you. So yes, excellent way of checking corrections, checking for things that need to be changed. Awesome, Donna. Yes, that's absolutely right. Okay. But all right, everybody. Hi, Abigail. All right. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and make these little fruit, right? So all this is dry now. I can see that it's dry. There are some areas up in here that maybe are still not completely dry, but I can go ahead and take I'm going to take my small flat brush here, my number 4, just cleaning it up a little. This guy right here, okay? And I'm going to grab, still got some of this green on my plate, but I don't want it that dark, right? I want to lighten it up a little. So a little bit of white. Just gonna create a nice little light green shade in here. Maybe needs a little more green, more of the dark green. There we go. Now, this is like this part right here sticks out right in here. And all I need is a little rectangle. Okay. And maybe we got another one. I'm going to bring this other one down a little further. Okay, there we go. Let me give you a close-up. I know it's kind of far away. Those are the base for those are the base of the fruit. Then this one right here. This one's a little bit whiter. Okay, maybe a little lower. Gonna go like that. Okay. And then let's do this one up here. It's thinner at the base and gets a little wider as it goes up. Now I'm going to take a little bit of red. Same brush, just let me clean it up. Swirl it around inside my rinse cup. Going to remove some of that extra green paint that's in there. I'm going to grab some of the red from my palette. Okay. Bring it over here. I got some pink in there. Just going to mix the two a little bit. A little bit. Got a little bit of red and pink on there. Just going to do this. Actually, I'm going to make these more red because the pink is just going to blend in with the background. So I'll grab more red here. Okay, there's one. These aren't super defined. These are like another rectangle on top of a rectangle almost. There's that one. Yeah, nice and loose. This is sketching with paint, but you don't need to get super precise. This one's a little bit bigger. Let me give you a close-up. Nothing fancy on those. Especially if you're going to be using glitter. If you're going to cover those up with some glitter. I have some red glitter I'll be using on top of that. You don't have to get super fancy or detailed. Okay. While I'm using a little bit of red, I'm going to use the same brush as you guys are working on your little fruit there. I'm just going to grab a little bit of red. Watch what I'm going to do here. Okay, a little bit of red here. Just going to remove some of it. I just want it on the very, very edge of the brush. I'm taking my little brush, my little flat brush. Now just a few little parts in here. I'm just going to come in and add a little bit of a red edge here and there. Why? Why not? Cool little color contrast. So maybe in here. Real subtle. Nothing too defined or there's not a lot of it. I'll give you guys a close-up in a second. I'm just taking some of this red and defining my edge a bit, but I'm giving my painting a bit of color pop. A pop of color. Let me see, where else? I think we're good. Okay. Close up, Jesse, close up. What does that look like up close? Just a little bit of red on some of my edges here and there. So instead of using black, I'm going to come in and use black, or even a dark brown would work. For now, I'm just coming through and adding little pops of that color on the edges. Okay. In just a bit, we're going to start adding some of the thorns. And what happens when we add those thorns, your cactus is really going to start to transform. It's going to start to look in very much like a prickly pear cactus. It's the thorns that really make it look like more of a cactus, okay? So this shadow is dry in here. This dark area over here, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more of that dark green, and then we're done with that. So what did we mix? We mixed some of the deep green that I've got on my palette, this here, with some blue, the deep blue, and then a little bit of black. to create that shadow color. Now when we overlap this here, it gets a lot darker. Now watch what I do. When I add this, when I get to my edge over here, I'm not going to get all the way right up to the edge. I'm going to leave a little edge that's light, just a little bit lighter. You'll see what I'm talking about in here in a moment. If you ever look at a shadow, the edges of a shadow, usually the edges are a little bit lighter than the main part of the shadow. So the further down you go into the shadow, if you ever look under a car, let's say you got a really sunny day and the sun is directly above a car, look at the shadow underneath and watch as it gets towards the edge where the bumpers are. It gets, because of the way light works, the way it refracts and stuff, the edges tend to be a little bit lighter than the main body of the shadow. Okay, so whenever you're creating shadows, and this is a shadow that we're making here, it's shading, but it's also shadow. That goes a long way. That little light edge goes a long way to giving you a more realistic shadow. Okay, so that little lighter edge here, just barely around the side, gives you a slightly more realistic looking shadow. Okay, hope that made sense. Once we're done with that, now little number 0 brush. I'm going to take a little bit of black. Let's see, do we have any black over here we can use? Nope. I'm going to scoop some up off of my main palette, right? This is my paint palette. I'm going to grab a little bit of black. Need a little more than that. Okay. I'm going to take this. I'm going to put it right over here. I'm going to take a little bit of green. Mix the two together to shade it a bit. I could also use a little bit of blue. Now I'm going to take some white. Scoop up some white. Okay. Bring that over. Put it right there. Mix all three of those together. There's a little bit of green in here, a little bit of black. I'm making a really deep gray. Okay. Now I'm going to take my brush. I dip it into the water cup. Bring some of that water over. Okay. Now, before I start to make my little thorns, I'm going to spin my brush in the plate like this. I spin it as I pull away. Okay. Now I can come in here and start making some thorns. Now, if you notice on the original, the thorns are all pointing in one direction, pretty much for the most part. Okay. On this, we'll start here. So right in here, we're going to go. I'll give you a close-up in just a moment. Okay, what we're doing right now is this. I'm taking my little brush. So I'll start at the base. I pull away. Okay, as I pull away, my lines get a little bit skinnier. Okay, so maybe you got a little base or a little line. Now from there, maybe your thorn has, each one of these little places have 2 thorns, 3 thorns sticking out of the same spot. Okay, but there's like a little divot, almost like like a belly button. And then from there, okay, a little tiny touch with your brush, almost like you're making a little dot or a little indentation. And then from there, okay. They don't all have to point in the same direction. Or for the most part, they all point in the same direction, right? Slightly different angles. So you make a bunch of these. Okay, let's see, down here. Okay. Over here. Watch what I do with my hand, non-painting hand. To support my painting hand, place this on my table. Then I grab my painting hand and right over the top of that. Little spot right there. And then from there, Can't forget to spin the brush. Makes the point a little skinnier. Okay. Then, so little indentation. Pull away. As you brush, pull away and lift your brush. Don't forget Saturday, 4th of July painting. For those of you that are looking for something to do, you can do it on Sunday. You can do it on Monday. You can do it whenever you want. And some of you guys are going on vacation, taking a few days off to go somewhere. But if you're looking for something to do, I'm going to be painting live on Sunday, 4th of July celebration. Now here on this piece, the thorns are going to be pointing up, right? So this guy's kind of bent over. They're going to point upwards, mostly. Remember, some have one little thorn. Some have two. Some have three. Up to you. We'll avoid that shadow area for now. We'll see later on if we maybe add some in there too. We'll see. We'll see. On this one, what am I going to do? Same thing. Those kind of depends on where you put it on your cactus. If you put it over here, maybe they're pointing up. If you put them up there, they're pointing that way. Or they could also point in the other direction, I guess. I suppose that if the stickers were on the other side, right? They'd be pointing that way. You can't see those, though. Oh, I still have to add some purple in there. I got some purple areas to add. We can add those around the stickers. All right. So look at that. Look what starts to happen here. When you're adding your little thorns, that's what starts to really make things look like a cactus, okay? Now I'm going to take a little bit of the same black gray color that I just mixed, and I'm just going to use this to define some of the edges. Again, I don't have to take, you can if you want, but I'm just going to take it and come through here and just add a little tiny line around the edge of part of my cactus. Okay, let's see, like right in here. Where else? Let's see, maybe here. Right up in here. Oh, can't forget, I got to put some little thorns here on this part too. So I'm going to make those really dark green. Okay. So right in here. Can't forget to spin the brush. These I'm just going to make like little dots. This little fruit doesn't have much of a shadow, so let's give it a little shadow. These two. A little bit. Use my finger to soften that shadow up a bit. All right. Things are looking pretty good. Yeah, pretty much, Donna. They are. So they're like little V's, but Some of them have 3 little points like this one. That's more like a V. Okay. But yes, perfect observation. They're more like V's. And then on some of these, I'm putting a little tiny dot at the bottom, right, where they come out of the cactus. So if you notice that little V there, it's got a little tiny dot. You don't have to do that to every one of them, but you want to put little subtle, almost like a little line or dot right at the base, and that's where they come out of. Okay. Again, but some of them have 2, some of them have 3. Most of them have either 2 or 3, but there are some that I do with just 1 like that. Okay. Now these, again, on this cactus, they point upwards, right? Because this part of the cactus is bent over. So they point in that direction. But there's our V again. There's a little 3 one. Okay. So yeah, just a bunch of these little combinations. As you make them, you want to pull away. You want to raise your brush as you pull away from the cactus, from the surface. And so what that does, when you pull away, as you brush across and pull away at the same time, by pull away, I mean you pull away from the canvas, you make those lines skinnier towards the edges. Okay, so you got about another minute. You got it, Donna? Absolutely. Abigail, apple paint is good. I do use apple paint. Are you talking about the apple barrel paint? Is that what you mean? Apple barrel? Yeah, it is a pretty good paint. Pretty decent. I think they sell that one at Walmart, if I'm not mistaken. I have picked it up a few times and it's worked pretty well. Now I haven't done any projects. Let's see, how do I explain this? So I haven't used apple barrel a lot. I have used it more recently in the past year, and all the projects that I've done have, the colors have stayed really bright and vibrant. So it looks like it's a really good paint. What you don't want to do, and there's no way to really know unless you read reviews and things like that, or if you use a paint often, is you don't want to use cheap paints that fade really quickly over time. Okay, but yeah, the apple barrel that I've used, yeah, it's nice. It's really nice. Thank you, Diana. Yeah, I'm liking this pink. Pretty cool. They got a little combo there that's really nice. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of purple. Just don't need a lot. I just want to add a little bit of it on some of my parts of my cactus. Come on, open up. I don't want to pull too hard on this lid because it'll pop open and send paint all over the place. We don't want that. I'm a messy painter as it is. I don't need any help. Okay, so I'm actually going to go back to my number 10 flat brush for this. Okay, so I've got a little bit of this really deep purple paint. Okay, now this is a really pretty paint to work with. It's also from the Fine Touch. Don't need a lot of it. So I'm going to scoop up some of this, and in one of my mix plates, I just bring that over and do this. Okay, I'm going to take some water with my brush. I want to thin it out. Okay, I want to thin it out quite a bit. I don't want it runny, but I want to thin it enough so that when I apply it to the cactus, it's really transparent. Okay, and then the other thing is I don't need a lot of paint on my brush. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come through here and find little spots like right in here. Because the paint is transparent, it really combines with the paint beneath it, the green and blue, and it creates a really nice hue that transitions between the two colors, the blues and the green below it, right? As I come across with the paint, it gives me a really nice little transition. And I'm just feathering it on. It's not heavy. It's not a hard press with the brush. I'm just lightly going and applying this. Let's see, where else can I use some of this purple? Maybe in here. Grab a little more. Why am I using purple? Because why not? It makes my painting a little more colorful. It's summer. Fun time for colorful paintings. We did one last year, and the painting is still up, the video, for those of you who'd like to go back and watch it. I had it in here. I think I took it home. It's not on my wall over on that side. But it's got 3 or 4 different succulents. It's a desert scene, kind of like an Arizona sky background with a variety of different cactus in the front, cacti, and it's really cool. If you guys are interested in checking that out, you'll have to go back a few months, but it's sometime, I think it was maybe June. No, it wasn't quite June. Maybe in May of last year. So again, really watered down paint here, just not runny. Lightly feathering it on, creating these really cool little subtle variations in color. Look at this, folks. Look at that. Okay, there's that purple. Okay, I'm adding some over here. I take my finger here, I put it up against the canvas. This is all dry, and it helps to stabilize my hand, and I'm just feathering this paint. Then I can come in here to soften the edges a little bit. I can use my finger and just lightly kind of dab, or I can take a paper towel and do the same thing just around the edges, and that softens it up a little. Okay, again, that creates kind of a cool little shift in that color. Maybe not super realistic, but again, it just creates a cool little painting with some nice colorful, some nice colors in there, some vibrant hues of similar shades. And then if you want, you can always grab just the paint itself without any water, but you still kind of want to thin it out a little. You don't need a lot on your brush. And just select some spots to deepen the color. So there's a little transition maybe in between. Okay, you could take this and add it maybe down here, maybe over here, up to you. Okay, but I like this color mixed in. Yeah, there you go, Don. Apple barrel, that's it. All right, we take a little step back. We look at our painting from a distance. Okay, we analyze it. How are things looking? Okay, there, at this point, you would decide, okay, do I need another layer of paint over any of this? Do I change things up? Maybe make them a different color, because you could still change things up if you wanted to make, a deeper green or a brighter green. You could, but you take a little step back, you look at painting, and that's when you make a decision. The only thing I'm really seeing right now that I'm not super pleased about is that this green is a little too contrasty in comparison to this blue. So it's a really even color in there. So what I can do is I can come in here and soften it up a little bit, change some of the values in here a little bit so that it becomes, it's more uniform throughout. It takes the same feel as the rest of the cactus. Okay, I'm not worried about that right now. That's pretty much the only thing that I would say I would need to change, right? As a personal thing, I'd say, okay, that's something that I need to touch up. But what I want to do now is I want to get into the bees. We've been painting for 2 hours now, or almost 2 hours. Let's do some bees. After we're done with the bees, we're going to analyze our piece again and then decide, are we ready for glitter or some more touch-ups? I could do a little more touch-ups on the flowers. I kind of like the way these look. There's a little tiny bit more detail on those. More hues. I added a few little more shades of the color combinations, but this is still perfectly fine. If I didn't have this painting next to it, if I came up to it and looked at that, I'd be, oh yeah, look at those orange flowers up on top of that cactus. So I really don't need to change this if I don't want to. It still works the way that it is. Okay. So, but anyway, let's look at the bees. We're going to be doing a little bit of drawing here. I'm going to go, let's see, should I go back to my chalk or not? I think so. I think I'm going to draw my bees with my chalk. I'm going to do a close-up. I'm going to zoom in a bit. Let's see if this works here. I want to be able to give you guys a good look at the original bee here and my new bee. So let me, a newbie. Yes, the bee, this bee is going to be a newbie. But all right, here we go. let's analyze, as we always do, as I always tell people to do when they're going to be drawing something for the first time. Always take a quick kind of analysis. And don't get bogged down in all the details. Always look at the overall shape first. That's what we would start with. The overall shape, the primary part of the bee, is all of this in here. And this can be broken down into two segments. This and then this. Okay, so you got the upper part of the head and the upper part of the torso, and then you've got the what do they call this? Is that the torso? No, I don't remember what they call this. Anyway, you get my point. There's two parts to it. We don't worry about the legs. We don't worry about the antenna. We don't worry about you don't worry about the wings. We want to worry about this for now. And so I'm going to start my bee, the bottom part. So this in here is about right in here. So we'll start with that. Hopefully you guys can see my chalk, purple chalk against the background. If not, I'll have to switch it up. I'll make it a little darker here in a moment. So the bee's flying right above my flower. Okay. So to make it easy, that's the back part of my bee. Okay, that's the back part of the bee. So this part here. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw the rest of it, which is this in here. Okay, comes forward. Turns into a little bit of a box. So it drops down. Don't stress too much about the details on your little bee. As long as it looks like a bee, you're going to be okay. Okay, if you have a different way of drawing bees, painting bees, there's of course different styles and stuff. What I'm just doing right now is I'm just going through and fixing, making some corrections. Again, here's the nice part about working with chalk. Okay. So again, we're not worried about the legs or the antennae or the wings or anything. We're just worried about what's on the overall shape of the outside of the bee. Okay. So now I can go through here and start to add some paint. And I'm going to be using my number 3 brush. Let me move these guys over to my little tin. So I'm going to take some black. Mix in a little bit of water. Okay, actually I'm going to grab this and bring it over to one of my little mix plates. Okay, water, black paint. Let's start with the head here. That little head is right in here. Okay. The outer shape of that little head. Let me see. Can I bring it in a little closer? Thorax, that's it. There you go, Christy. Sounds good, Don. Thank you for hanging out today. Thorax, that's it. Thank you. That was going to bug me until it came to my brain. Okay. So that's the head, the main part of the head. I'm just going to go ahead and color that in. Where the little eyes are going to be, or the little antennae are going to pop out. And then we got this second segment with where the next stripe is. So we're going to move back a little bit. Right in here. I'm going to start with a little line that kind of comes over like that. And then this is nice and narrow. Starts narrow and then widens up a little bit down here. Okay, we connect that. We color that in. For those of you that hung out with me when we did the sunflowers a few weeks ago, they're kind of similar bees. Okay, So again, we skip back a little bit when leave some space for the yellow stripe. So somewhere over here, we're going to go like that. And everyone, you're all going to have different shapes, stripes, different thicknesses and widths. So don't stress. Just make some bees that look kind of like bees and you're going to be all right. Not looking for perfection, just looking for a cool little painting that people can look at and go, oh, cool. Okay. Thank you, Ginkini. Thank you. Yeah, we're gonna have some fun on Saturday for those of you that are gonna join me. Now, the piece on Saturday, if you don't, if you don't live in the United States, you could make that sky into a different flag if you wanted to make a flag out of it. You don't have to make a flag. Okay, you can make it into a different. You just have to get a little, play around with it a bit. Okay, now I'm taking a little bit of yellow in between the black stripes. I'm just going to come in here. Just got to be careful, though. We don't want to grab some of the black and bring it over. At first, these bees don't look like much. So when we start to add the little legs and the wings and the eyes, that they start to take shape. Okay, start to look like bees. So I'm trying to remember why I did the white part. I'm not a bee expert, but when I was drawing those bees originally, I looked at bee pictures. And some of them had little white, or at least I think that's where I got the white from. Oh, somebody was on here that's a beekeeper. Was that Don? I'm trying to remember. Somebody was a beekeeper, I thought. All right. Now, I'm going to make a little adjustment. The thorax, the back part of the thorax, or the bee's little butt here is a little too large. So I'm going to reduce it a bit, make it a little smaller. There we go. Now, I know some of you are just going to want to make that yellow also. I'm going to go ahead and just, like the original, a little white in here. So these aren't realistic bees. They're more of more impressionistic bees. They don't have to be perfect. You could, Kinkini, you can absolutely paint the whole bee and you can outline the whole thing in black. Absolutely. Okay, so there's a little close-up of my bee, the body, right? Now I'm going to switch over to my little number 0 brush, a little round brush, a little pointy thing, right? A little skinny, a little smaller than my number 3. I can make the antennae, and the little feet, the little legs. Still using black, mixing some water in there. Really important you add a little bit of water so it makes it easier to draw thin lines with. Take your brush, you spin it. Now I can go ahead and come in here. Now here, bring out the little leg. Okay, top of the leg. Kind of a little, almost like a little triangle coming down from the body itself, and then just bring it down to a little point like that. Okay, so over here, right up over here, kind of same thing. Make like a little triangle. Don't forget to make sure you're mixing water in the paint and you're spinning the brush. And then you're just going to come bring that down like that. Then what you can do, whoops, got to be careful I don't trip over any cords and stuff over here. A little antennae. Now all this is dry, so I can place my hand right up on the canvas here and do a little antennae on top, Antenna on top brings it out. Has a little dot or a little bulb at the end of it. The other one's at a different angle. Also has a little dot. A cute little bee, if I do say so myself. Okay. Now, before I start on those wings, I'm going to grab a little bit of white. Same, still using my number 0 brush. And I'm just going to come over, put a little dot where I want the eye to be. Look at that. Little bee. Just needs a pair of wings. Back to my number 3, because we're going to do a little bit of drawing, but it's they're bigger lines that we'll be using. Where did my number 3 go? Okay. Didn't put it back where it should go, so it's right here. A little gray. We're going to make some gray by mixing black and white. Okay, we're doing that. Too much gray. I mean, too much dark. Too dark of a gray. And it can be swirly. Don't need to be perfectly perfect mix. We're going to start with the wings up on top. Okay, so somewhere from right in here. So I'll draw a little dot right here where I want those wings to attach. I'm going to draw a line that goes up and back. Kind of goes like this. Okay. It's the wing on the far side. Okay, so right underneath that, the line goes kind of like that. Drops down, goes forward. Okay. This one, the other 2 pair in the bottom, start right here somewhere, so a little dot. Start with one on top first. Okay, one on the bottom. All right. Now I'm going to take a little bit of white. It says white. Mix it in, making it a little bit of a lighter shade of that gray. And I'll just come in here and pick a few little spots. To highlight my wings and make them stand out a little bit more. Look at that. There's a little wing. There's a little bee right there about to land on that flower and pick up some of that little flower nectar, cactus flower nectar. Okay. A little stinger. Ed's missing a little stinger, isn't it? We can give it a little stinger. Most definitely. Let's give it one. What the heck? Why not? I'm going to grab my still on the little number 3 brush. Going to give the little torso over here, the little tiny little black stripe. There we go. Maybe it needs to be longer stinger. All right, that worked out. Got to watch out for this little bee. Okay, So the other bee would be essentially the same thing, just slightly curved shape. We're going to go ahead and do that one. We're going to go a little bit faster. Okay, I'm going to use my chalk. So what do we do? So first thing you want to do with this one, you want to locate where the head's going to be, because this one's sitting right on top of that, on top of the fruit. So we want to make sure we put that in first, nice and close. So the little head here isn't boxy like this one was. It's a little more of a rounded shape. Okay, something like this. And that might be a little too close. Oh, okay, let me see what I need to do here. I need to bring the other bee into view. How can we do that? There we go. Yeah, also helps me a little bit better, a little more, because it allows me to get a little closer. And then, do we do a zoom? Let's see. Why not? So here's my head. Let me make it a little darker. And then we're going to start with that body. Okay, what I'm going to do first, we're not worried about those wings. We're going to curve the torso, wrap it around so it's curved, right? Just like that is. Okay, all one piece. Right now looks a little bit like a caterpillar. That's okay. Okay, and we can get right into the colors like we did on the other one, starting with the black for the head. Back to my little number 0. Or no, actually this is my number 3. Could use the number 0. That'll work too. Okay. We're going to skip back a little bit, draw the next dark segment on here, the black segment. Okay. Right here. Okay. Clean up my brush a little bit. Need a little bit of yellow. Come in here. Add that right in there. Gonna make this a little smaller too there. Take some white. Oops, just drop my paint palette on the ground. It's all right, we'll pick it up right now. That's why I cover my floor up. Otherwise, my carpet here in the studio would be all kinds of different colors. Okay. Okay, back to my 0. Little 0 brush to make the little skinny feet. Little legs. Okay, this is a little different. The little feet are grabbing the flower. Okay, so there's one. Other one right here comes out. Okay. Now back to my number 3, back to my gray color. Need to mix some more, it looks like. All right, here we go. Right here. They also kind of bend a little bit. Just a little bit. I want to pick up a little bit of that yellow that's still wet right there. That's all right. I need my antenna. Also going to bring those forward. And then we can't forget the little dot for the eyes right here. Gonna take a little white and just kind of a little bit of detail to the wings. And there we are. Okay. 2 little bees flying around. And having some prickly pear cactus flower treat. Whoops, let's see, I gotta back it up now. Let's see, there we go. Oh, number 2 needs a stinger too. That's right. Gotta give it a little stinger. Gotta be consistent. So my little 0 brush. Let's grab this little guy here, give a little tiny bit of a, and then there we go. Now those are some dangerous bees. Okay. Let's talk about glitter. For those of you that are going to add glitter. Actually, one more thing before we talk about that glitter. I'm going to take a little bit of white. Now, my white here is pretty mixed up with some of the other stuff. I'm just going to come in here and around my edges. I just want to give this flower a little bit more pop, the center. And then maybe there we go. I like that. Take a little step back before we start to add our glitter. Let's look at what we got. Okay, I'm liking everything. At this point, if there's anything that you don't like, obviously you'd want to go through there and make some adjustments, corrections, etc. For those of you that are not new, or sorry, that are new and not familiar with the way we work with glitter around here, basically what I've got is glitter paint. So I've got this gold. I think I picked this up at Walmart, of all places. One day I was running behind and needed some glitter for a painting event that I was doing. So I picked up this gold. Actually, it's been pretty good, pretty cheap, and you know, pretty good glitter. So there's a little bit of that. I've also got this stuff, this glitterific. Shadow on green, fruit on bee on right stem. Oh, yes. Perfect. Thank you, Diana. Good observation. Absolutely. So what she's talking about is this right in here. A little shadow of that dark green. Yes. Thank you so much. So just like before, a little tiny bit of green. Don't need a whole lot. Okay. The deep green, right? Then a little tiny bit of black. And also some of the blue. Just mix it in a little tiny bit more. There we go. Now, just going to come in here. Also needs the little thorns. Also a little bit of that outline. There we go. Okay, now my little 0 brush or number 3 will work also. Just going to grab a little bit more of this black or the deep green that we blended in earlier. Now we'll go in there and do little thorns. Perfect. I like it. All good, Diana. Absolutely. No, not at all. It's perfect. I am notorious for forgetting things on my paintings. So absolutely not. I do appreciate that. So I'm sure there's other people that are going, oh, he's forgetting that. Oh, he's not going to do that, but they don't mention it. So thank you. I appreciate it. No, I am absolutely notorious for forgetting little. I think it's one of my just my processes, mode of operation, MO. I like to forget things here and there. I used to forget a lot more when I first started teaching these online. So anyhow, perfect. So a little bit of green as well. I've got this glitterific paint that I pick up at Hobby Lobby. Okay, I'm going to use a little bit of that. Now on the original, I used really fine glitter like this gold stuff here, but it's okay. I don't have any of that. I've got some of the thicker green and red. I'll show you what this looks like. For those of you that aren't familiar with this kind of glitter, I'll show you what it looks like in just a moment. I'm going to use a little bit of green and then a little bit of red, and then we'll go from there. We'll see what else we got. Whoops, too much, Jesse. Okay. So here are my 3 colors. There's red from glitterific. Okay. I got the green, and then I got some gold right here. So whenever you're working with glitter, what you want to do, the brush that I thought I was going to be using that I did not use, my little filbert brush, we can use it for glitter. What the heck? When you apply glitter to your painting, you want to make sure that your brushes are nice and clean, no wet paint. And then the areas that you apply it to are nice and dry as well. Like I take this gold and add a little bit to my flower. I can use it to accent. I don't normally apply it to the whole entire painting. Usually I use this to add detail. Okay, little accents and make things stand out. So this is gold. I could either use gold or I can use the red for the flowers, for these orange flowers. Again, I'm just using it to accent a little bit. You can also use glitter to mask. Let's say there's some areas that you're not necessarily super happy with. You can use it to mask, and for all intents and purposes, you can really create some cool effects and make your painting quite a bit prettier by adding a little bit of glitter. Let's see if we can catch the light on that. Okay, little bit. Okay, there's that. So there's that gold. Now I could also take this gold and add it to the bees. I'm not going to do that because the bees are still a little bit wet, so I'm not going to mess with that. But I can take the green here, this deep, so this is deep, thick green. Okay, I just cleaned up the brush a little bit with a paper towel. I can take this, now I can apply it just to the green parts, or I can maybe apply it more to the green areas and then a little bit less in any of the other colors. Right now I'm just feathering this on. I'm not applying this too thick. Just kind of feathering it on, and then I could either take some blue and apply it to the blue areas, or I can take some, some, like I said, green and apply a little less, a thinner layer. But let me see if I can bring this up close to you guys so you can see what's happening here. Look at that. Look at that with that green. Again, you can use it to accent certain parts of your painting, or you can use it on this, like I can go with this green and add it to this entire green area on the cactus. This one here is neon green from Glitterific. So maybe down here I'll add a little bit less. Okay, over here. Glitter just makes these a little bit more fun. Makes them pop a little bit more. Here where I didn't add too much shading to this area up here, the green area, remember I was mentioning that I wasn't too happy with this because it wasn't consistent. I can use this green to mask that. And it won't be as noticeable. Look at that. Look how cool that's looking. There you go, Diana. That's it. Glitter, it's, again, just a cool way to make your painting pop. Okay, so I mentioned, and I think I'm pretty sure I've got some glue glitter in here. Yes, I do. It's on my little, I got a little shelf over there. I got some blue glitter. I'm going to add some in here in just a little bit. Before I do that, though, I'm just going to grab a little bit of my red. Again, this is also from Glitterific. Red from Red Glitterific. And I'm just going to come in here. Add a little bit. Right in there. Look at that. A little bit of red in here on these. Okay. Now on the original, I have a little bit of pearl or crystal glitter on the wings of the bees, even on the body, on the white parts. Okay. So I'll probably grab a little bit of that. Give me 1 second while I reach over. I'm going to come across the front of the camera here real quick and grab my blue. And do we got any? I think I got a little pearl left. A little bit, not a lot. So we'll see if those bees get any glitter. Maybe I'll use some of the blue. But I got this really cool blue also for the glitter from Glitterific. I think my favorite glitter to use is called, I don't have any in here, but it's called what the heck is it called? Craft Twinkles. There we go. Craft Twinkles from Deco Art. And I get that one at Michael's. But all right, there's my blue. It's got a little bit of bits of purple in there and a few other colors. But I can use this and just bring it in here. And again, I don't have to put it on every single part of my cactus. Just maybe highlight some of the areas that I want to stand out. All right. Look at that. Thank you, Kinkini. Yeah, this is the fun part. Sounds good. Susan, how's it going? Yeah, come on back and watch this at your leisure. Okay. Gonna grab some of this blue. I am gonna add it to my bee's little wings over here. Don't need a lot. Just gonna layer a little bit. Yeah, that wing's dry enough. There we go. Cool. Let's take a look up close. There it is, everybody. There it is. Okay. Now, a couple of things that I would do with the finished painting, and I didn't do it on the original, but I would sign it, right? Find a little corner down at the bottom, sign the piece, and then the very last thing I would do is I would flip it on over and I would paint this edge over here. Okay. But we're not going to do that right now. No big deal. Don't need to go through all of that. But I like that. I really like the contrast in these colors. Okay. The pink is really nice. I think it, I like the blue too. I like the original blue. I think that was originally a nice choice, but I was looking for something different and I like this change. So, turned out nicely. Very last thing that I would do is, I would actually let it sit for a few hours next day or whatever. I would come back and look at it with fresh eyes, and then I'm sure there's some things that I might go, oh, I need to add a little touch up here, a little outline there, etc. Obviously it's a little hard to do that over glitter, but in some spots that don't have glitter, I could still do it, especially things like outlines and such. But usually on a painting, when I think I'm done, I'll step away from it. And then, whether it's the next day or a few hours later, I'll come back and look at it again and I get a new perspective and I can then add, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. I can then make the adjustments that I need. And somebody's asking about my PayPal. Yes, Diana, I do. I have my PayPal. Let me see here. For those of you that might be interested in sending Jesse a little bit of glitter, as Diana put it, there at the bottom of the page is my virtual tip jar information. I've got a PayPal, I've got Zelle, I've got Venmo. You'll also find this information in the description for the video at the very top. You'll see the information there. Okay, so for those of you that are interested, it's greatly appreciated. I am going to be putting out some information for those of you that are interested in my upcoming membership. I'm putting out a video with information tomorrow. My launch date is going to be sometime in July. It's looking like it's later in July than I had initially anticipated. Probably something around the 20. I don't remember now. I don't even want to say anything because I got to look at my calendar before I misspeak and mislead you guys. But it is going to happen next month. Tomorrow I'll be providing some details. Probably, I'm sure I'll have the date in the video. I've already got the date figured out. I just, right now, top of my brain, I'm not remembering. And then other details as to what's going to be included in that membership, et cetera, all that fun stuff. I'll be posting about that tomorrow. So if you're interested, be on the lookout for that video. If you're part of the mailing list, I'll be sending an email out to that group with a link to the video as well so that you don't miss it. Some important dates on there. There will be an opening and a closing date. So for those of you that are interested, so you don't miss out on that, okay? But anyway, everybody, I really do appreciate all of you hanging out with me. Carrie, once again, Carrie, there is no stencil for this one, okay? No stencil on this one. We did it all freehand. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. I think I already answered that question. I'm all the way at the top. Let's see. Kinkini, a yellow background with purple flowers would be beautiful. Absolutely. That would be fantastic. Okay. Sounds great. Also, don't forget to send pictures of your masterpieces over to me. I would really love to see those. But okay, everyone, have an amazing rest of the day, evening, week, etc. For those of you that are painting with me on Saturday, I will see you guys here for the 4th of July painting. That's going to be a lot of fun. So for those of you that are going to be hanging out with me that day, I cannot wait to see you guys here. I got a mess to clean up in here. But anyway, thanks everyone. I will talk to you guys all very soon. Bye-bye.